I'd like to welcome you all to today's webinar. My name is Liz McCreesh, and I'm a Business Intelligence and Analytics Consultant with Thorogood, and I also head up our analytics practice. Today, together with my colleague Audrey Kennedy, we'll be showing you some of the latest offerings from SAS and how you can increase the analytics capability within your business. If you have any questions, please submit them via the chat panel, as we will be monitoring this during the session, and we look to answer any questions either at the end of today or offline. For those of you who aren't familiar with us, Thorogood is a specialist consultancy for business intelligence and analytics. We help our customers leverage technical capabilities to provide business insights, and we do this by partnering with the best-of-breed technology providers, including SAS, whose capabilities we'll be showcasing here today. We operate as a single organisation across our locations in London, New York, Philadelphia, and Bangalore, and we provide a full range of BI services from strategy work to design, implementation, support and training. So today's agenda. Today we'll be basically highlighting some of SAS's end-to-end capabilities, but just touching on that briefly, and today we'll be focusing in on two of their products that we feel illustrate the synergies between business intelligence and analytics. And these two tools are visual analytics and visual statistics. So first we're going to just touch upon SAS and a little bit of background for those of you who are unfamiliar. So SAS has been going as a company for nearly 40 years. We find most of our customers have got SAS somewhere in their organization, whether that's in small focused pockets or at a wider range throughout the company. I like SAS's mission statement, so it's to deliver proven solutions that drive innovation and improve performance. And their 40 years of work around statistical analysis kind of underpins all of that, that ability to help drive your business forward. So we're just going to very briefly touch upon the overall SAS analytics landscape. On the left-hand side here, we can see some examples of some of the data sources that SAS can connect to. It can connect to most data sources, but in particular, I wanted to call out some of the connectors that it has that we see a lot on our customers. So Salesforce is a big driving force, Teradata. Twitter, there's a direct connection from visual analytics into Twitter, and we'll be showing that using some text analytics demonstrations later in the session. And it can also connect directly to Hadoop to meet any of your big data analytical needs. There are a suite of tools around the data management side of things. So these allow you to combine and integrate your data. They've got tools to monitor your data lineage, some data quality implications, some business rules you can add into that. And the Federation server also has the ability to virtually combine your data sources. On the user side, there are a number of analytical tools available, including Enterprise Miner and also Forecast Server. But today we'll be focusing in on the top two here, visual analytics and visual statistics. So visual analytics is a dashboarding and data exploration tool that also has built-in analytical capability. This is a tool that we see being rolled out to many of the users within your companies. So there's no statistical skills required or no programming skills. Everything's drag and drop and very intuitive. Visual statistics is an extension of visual analytics. It includes some more advanced analytical tools. So we normally would recommend rolling this out to a smaller subset of your users who've got some awareness of statistical techniques, but still there's no need to code, so it's just the underlying parameters and understanding the models. So focusing first in on the SAS Visual Analytics tool. So this is an in-memory data exploration and data dashboarding tool. SAS like to describe it as approachable analytics, as it provides a very intuitive user interface and kind of hides the underlying scary statistics that might put some people off. And it's got a number of underlying components to it. So we've got Data Builder, and that allows you to pull in data from multiple sources and blend that together. You can also build in calculations, any business logic, and any manipulations that you need to do for your data. Administrator allows you to apply any security roles and models that you need to have in place. Explorer allows you to interact with your data and create visualizations, and also apply some analytical tools and techniques such as showing correlation matrices, some forecasting capabilities, and some decision trees. Designer allows you to create reports and dashboards that can be made available to a wider user community via the web. They've also got a very strong mobile offering and integration with Microsoft Office toolset. It's also worth noting with the mobile offering, your data is available offline as any reports are downloaded directly onto your tablets and therefore can be accessed without any connectivity needed. In terms of visualizations, apart from the standard visualizations you would expect, so your bar charts, pie charts, Visual Analytics has got some really interesting views here, and we've got an example of them on the screen at the moment. So just to kind of touch upon some of these, we've got some text analytics using word clouds and including some sentiment analysis. We've got some correlation matrices that indicate the strength of the relationship between some of the metrics and drivers within your business. We've got decision trees to show how you can classify your data and understand the underlying relationships. We've got Sankey diagrams that depict the flow of information through a business process. They've also got forecasting capabilities, which a number of tools have, but over and above that, what it enables you to do is to understand which of your metrics are actually driving your forecasts and what you can have impacts on. And then it also allows you to do some scenario modeling to see what impact changing some of those drivers has on your ongoing forecast. And we'll be showing some demonstrations of that in a moment. When it comes to visual statistics, this, as I said, is an add-on to Visual Analytics. And here you kind of get a bit more in-depth modeling with your data, and it's a much more focused set of users. It helps you to understand how certain events and outcomes happen, understand key relationships, look at the root cause of events, and then use this information to build predictive models. These models can then be refined and tuned to help you assess any future outcomes, explain what will happen, and allow you to basically understand your business better. So at this point, I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Audrey Kennedy, who's actually going to show us some of these capabilities in action. So Andrew, would you like to just touch on what you're going to show today?
Thanks, Liz. Hi, everyone. I'm Audrey Kennedy. I'm a consultant here at Thorogood, and I lead the SAS practice here at Thorogood. As Liz described, I'm going to touch on some of the fantastic things that you can do with Visual Analytics. Because we've only got a limited time here, I'm not going to be able to go through all of the great functionality that's available, but I do want to touch on, I'm going to start with the Sankey diagram just to show you one of the visualizations that the Visual Analytics has that's a little bit different. I'll then take a look at building a decision tree. I'm then going to take a look at text analytics on Twitter data to show you what Visual Analytics offers around the text analysis. And then I'll take a look at some sales data and how my spending is driving my outcomes by using a correlation matrix, and then some forecasting with scenario analysis. Finally, I'll show a visual statistics example of how you could use clustering to look at your product portfolio. So the first thing you'll notice in the tool here is that this is a web-based tool. So you go in through your browser. I'm just going to go in and open an exploration in Visual Analytics Explorer. The first thing I want to do is to take a look at some motor vehicle insurance, and ultimately I'm going to try and identify fraudulent claims so that I can reduce costs and reduce the premiums I charge. So the first thing I want to do with that is to look at the data and see what stages a claim goes through and how it's processed. And an ideal chart for that is a Sankey diagram. Now at the top here you can see there are various different types of charts that I can choose between. Let me select the Sankey diagram. I've got my data set down here on the left, and I can see my categories and measures. And on the right, I see what's needed for this Sankey diagram. So let me drag my claim stage on as my event. I'll beat myself to it. And then I'll drag the status change date on to give it the sequence order so it knows what dates those changes happened. And then finally, the transaction identifier, I'll use the claim ID. And now that I've done that, I can go into properties and change it so that it's colored by the event, just to make it look a bit prettier. And then this, as well as being a beautiful visualization, also gives me a very good way of looking at how the claims progress through the process. So you can see that all of my claims start with a notification, nearly 7,000 claims in this set. Some of those are fast-tracked, and all the claims that are fast-tracked are then accepted, and all the other claims are sent for review. From there, some of those are accepted, some are rejected, and some go for a fraud review. And it's those cases in the fraud review that I'm going to be interested in. You can see that those are split between rejected claims and some that I will prosecute. So what I want to do is to try and limit the claims that I have to look at as potentially fraudulent, but trying to catch all the claims that are fraud. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is take a look at the data set with slightly more detail. So this is same claims, and I want to look at the claims that have been fraudulent. So if I start by dragging on this fraud flag, I'm going to build a decision tree. So I'll click on that, and here I can see that I've got a lot of claims here, and most of them, shown in the dark green, are non-fraudulent claims. I've got a small number of claims that are fraudulent, and those are shown in that tiny yellow bar there. Now, maybe I've noticed from previous investigations that claim type might be an indicator, so I've got a suspicion that this might help. And if I drag on claim type, I can see that it's split out the fire and theft claims from the rest of the claims. Now, the fire and theft makes up a small proportion of the claims. I can see that by this narrow line. But you can see that there's a much higher proportion of those that are shown as fraudulent claims in that yellow bar. Now, having seen the effect of claim type, I might want to add claim subtype on. So let me do that, and you can see it's giving me a further split there. And I'm also going to add the driver age. So I can add measures as well as categories. And what SAS has done here is to take away each of those categories and give me the best splits so that I can identify the groups that are going to have the highest proportion of fraudulent claims. So you can see that these four categories on the left, the ones typically relating to fire and theft, are coming up as more fraudulent. And I'm seeing more fraud from my drivers who are under the age of 60. So it's just a very quick drag and drop way to get the advanced analytics out of visual analytics that gives you some way of looking at which claims I should be investigating for fraud. The next thing I want to show you is something slightly different. I'm going to switch to Twitter dataset. And this is looking at tweets that there have been recently around the release of the Apple Watch in the last few days. Now, if I set these tweets up so that I can view them as a document collection, this is a data set that I've loaded in using Visual Analytics Data Builder. So it's giving me various bits of information about the tweet. So I've got the author's name, whether it's been retweeted, how many times it's been retweeted. But if I just drag on the body text, SAS will go away and it'll generate some topics for me. And I can choose to turn on the Analyze Document Sentiment. So it'll figure out which of the tweets are being positive and which are negative. And if I choose Identify Term Rules, it just improves the word classification slightly so that the topics come out slightly better. What I can see here in this drop-down is the list of topics that it's come up with. So you can see the topic that most people are talking about is the fact that there are deliveries and orders for the Apple Watch which are looking like they're going to ship tomorrow. And there's some people more generally talking about the watch. Down here, for example, there's a nightstand which seems to be on special offer. If I want to take a look at the actual tweets in my biggest topic, let me click on Delivery Tomorrow. And here we can see that someone's super excited that they've got the shipment info for their Apple Watch, and that's been classified as a very positive tweet. If, on the other hand, I choose Disappoint, people who are saying they're disappointed, obviously those tweets are being classed as negative. And overall, in the top corner here, you can see this topic is showing generally more positive tweets than negative tweets. And then a lot of the tweets are neutral, so just people stating that they're getting the shipment tomorrow without really giving an opinion on that. So you can see there how I've been able to very quickly get an insight into what people are saying on Twitter, but this might also be useful in cases where you're looking at, for example, customer feedback, or in an insurance claims process, you could look at the claims that are coming up with similar topics each time. Now, in the rest of the examples, I'm going to take a look at some sales data. And here I'm looking at the sales within a hair care company. And the first thing I want to look at is profit and the sales value, and I'll put last year's sales value on as well. If I drag those on, I can start to see the relationships between those. So there you can see that my sales value goes up and my profit goes up, and that's pretty much what I'd expect. Here I've also got 5 different types of marketing spend. So the spend that I place on packaging, spend that I'm spending on placement, and I split out, price where I bring the cost to the customer down, the product where I make the product better as part of the promoting it, and then the promotions that I run. And if I drag those marketing spends on, I can try and start to look for where the relationships are, but it's a bit difficult to see. So let me right click and a fit line. And in each case, it's been able to put the fit line on. And it's also giving me a background indicator behind each plot in red. So the darker the red, the stronger the correlation. So here there's a reasonably strong correlation between the spending on price and then the amount that customers are spending. So when I'm spending on my price promotion, I'm seeing my sales go up. This chart's pretty useful, but if I had a lot more measures, it might start to get more difficult to view it with the data points plotted individually. And at that stage, I would switch to a correlation matrix. And here you can see very quickly which of the measures are moving together. So here that you can see straight away that the price and the sales value are correlated, and by hovering over it, I can see that that's a positive correlation, and it's about 50%. I can also see that the spending on my price is improving my profit. And I can see that the spending on product is probably the second best spend for driving up the sales value and the profit. So very quickly I'm able to get an insight into how my spends are affecting my sales and how my drivers in my business are affecting the outcomes. Once I've seen that, I might want to take a look at whether I can use those spends to start to forecast the sales. If I'm going to forecast sales, the first thing I'll do is I'll plot a line chart of that. And in visual analytics, to add a forecast, it's as simple as right-clicking and choosing to show forecast. Now, it's decided it's going to show me 6 months by default, but if I wanted to change that, it's very simple to do. And it's giving me the confidence bands around that as well. So at this point, if I choose to lock it to the line chart, at this point, SAS has gone away, and it's looked at the model, and it's looked at whether there's trend in seasonality, and it's decided in this case it can't find any seasonal movement, but it has found a slight upwards trend, so that's the model that you're seeing plotted on the right-hand side. Let me take these spends again and drag them on as underlying factors. Now we saw in the correlation plot that there were some of those that were related. And here SAS has gone away, and it's looked at the 5 spends that I've put on, and it's decided that 3 of them are helpful in telling me what my forecast should be. And it's kept placement, price, and product. So those are matching the strongest correlation from the previous chart. So that's a pretty good sign that these are needed in the model. What you can see here is that these 3 have been added. So the price in purple, product in orange, and the placement in yellow. And there's a forecast for each of those. But importantly, that forecast is now being used to drive the forecast for sales. So you can see that's changed from just a straight linear trend to being based on what I'm spending as well. Now maybe I have a plan for what I'm going to spend in each of those in the future. And if I want to put that into the model as well, I can do that using this scenario analysis tool. And even here I don't need a code, it's a simple drag and drop, and I can just drag up the spend on this particular, in this case, price. And I can press apply, and you can see here the grey line shows me what the original prediction was. And now that I've changed this spend, the green line is showing me the new prediction. I can use it the other way as well if I want to do goal seeking. So if I've got a target that I want to hit in a particular month, I can drag that up, and when I press apply, it'll go away in the background and it'll try and predict what I should be spending on each of the types of marketing to try and achieve that target. So it's a very simple to use tool. And if you want to share it further with the business, when I close out, you can see that the new forecast is kept here. And when I right-click, I can choose the Export Data option, and from there it'll export the data as a CSV. So that'll keep the original prediction and the new one with my scenario analysis built in. And I can share that with other people in the organization, or I can use that in other tools if I want to look at my marketing there. So I've shown you a number of examples in visual analytics. Hopefully you've seen that it's very easy to apply the advanced analytics capabilities there. And what I'm going to do to finish off is to take a look at an advanced model out of visual statistics. So as Liz said earlier, this is an add-on for visual analytics. And it just gives me a few more options. I might need to know some of the statistical models behind it. I might need to have at least an awareness. But I'm still not needing to code at all. So this is very friendly to use. I've got a few options up here for different types of model. I'm going to choose the cluster. So what I'm trying to look at here is what the different products in my portfolio are doing, and whether there's any way that I should be looking at them in groups. So I'll start here by dragging on the margin and the growth. And you can see here that I've got quite a few outliers, so I want to apply a filter. And I can very simply do that. Earlier on, before the demo in Visual Data Builder, which is also part of Visual Analytics, I built this extreme values measure. And I've got the extreme values that I'll probably take a look at later separately. But for now, let me stick to the ones that are within the expected range. And very quickly, I've got clusters. It's automatically built 5. I could change that number if I wanted to using its properties. For now, I'll stick with the 5 clusters. I'll take a look at those. So this yellow group in the top left are my high margin, low growth products. So with those, I might be looking at how I can change my spending patterns so that I'm increasing sales, driving the growth without hurting the margin. This green group, I've got high growth and relatively high margin, so those are the products that I really want to be pushing. Those are the products that are making me the most money. And these purple products, those are the products with low growth, low margin, and those are perhaps the products that I might look to delist, or at least to investigate why they're not performing as well as they should be. So this second chart that I've been given with the cluster analysis is showing me the same clusters, but it's showing me them in a slightly different way. This is a beautiful chart, but it's also quite a useful one for looking at how these clusters are spread across different measures. So if I take this cluster, here we can see this is a cluster with generally high growth and lower margin. If I take a look at this purple cluster, I've got a cluster here with low growth and low margin, so I can easily see how these clusters are spread within each of the measures. And that's showing me the same clusters at the top, but it just gives me another way of looking at them. So what I've shown you is 6 examples of how visual analytics and visual statistics can allow you to very easily explore your data and apply advanced analytics. So now I'm going to hand back to Liz, who will summarize what we've shown today.
Thanks, Andrew. So hopefully that has given you some introduction into the capabilities of visual analytics and visual statistics. So today in the demonstrations we saw the use of the Sankey diagrams, which is my personal favorite, to show how claims are flowing through the life cycle and how they're being processed. We showed decision trees to indicate where we see the most fraud within our claims business. Then we switched tack to look at some text mining on Twitter data that we'd collected earlier around the new launch of the new Apple Watch. We showed using some sales data, looking at correlation matrices to understand the relationship between our marketing spend and our sales. And then we further enhanced that by looking at our forecasts and seeing what-if scenarios about changing our different levels of marketing spend and what impact that would have on our underlying forecasting model. And then lastly, we moved into visual statistics, where Andrew showed a clustering demo to see where we could identify within our portfolio which products we might look to delist to kind of have a portfolio reduction. So some of these techniques you can use using standard visualization tools, but what this does, it takes it over and above those kind of standard reporting capabilities, as it gives you a statistical comfort and background to the decisions that you're making within your business. one of the things that we'll be doing is we'll be recording today's session. I think it was mentioned at the start of the session. We'll be recording today's session, and that will be available on our website, and we will let you know when that will be available on demand. Thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed today's session, and enjoy the rest of your day.